So it's another day and another project, and this time it's a chainsaw. So this is an old Stihl 056 AV, as you can see on the top there. It's got a 20 something inch bar on it, and it hasn't been run for a while, and I'm going to diagnose anything that needs to be done with it, and yeah, you can follow along. So we're going to start with the spark plug. That's what I always do. Without spark, the engine's not going to run. So here's your spark plug boot, and here's your spark plug. So there's two ways to test spark. There's one way that you'll need a tool, which is one of these spark testers. But if you don't have one of them, I'll show you also how to do it without. So you're going to first want to take the boot off and unplug the spark plug. Now put the spark plug back into the boot. This is for the first method without a tool. Make sure your ignition switch is on, so that you're going to actually get some spark. And then you want to ground this tip of the electrode onto something metal. So I'm going to ground it onto this metal body. Actually, I'm going to spin the chainsaw around first. It's easier for me to pull over. So I hope you can see that there. And you're looking for a spark in between this gap here. And I can see a spark. I don't know if you can, but you will be on the next one. You're looking for a blue spark between these two electrodes, that gap there, when you pull it over. There is spark there. So I'll show you the other method. You want to take the spark plug out and just leave it on the side. And then take one of these spark plug testers. So it has a grounding side that you want to attach to something metal. So I'll put it onto that body there. And then plug the other side into this boot. And then set the gap to what it's recommended for small engines, and then do the same, just turn over. That's a bit far away actually. And you can see that blue spark jumping between the two. Okay, so now you can see that spark. Put the spark plug back in, tighten it up, make sure it's nice and tight. And then spark plug boot back on. So that's that checked. Next I'm going to have a look at the fuel. I'd imagine there's probably old fuel in here. So I'm going to bring the chainsaw over here and give it a go. Nothing there, so I'm going to spray a bit of brake cleaner in, and what that's going to do straight into the air filter, it's going to put fuel straight into the inside part of the carb, straight into the cylinder. And if it starts up for a second, then, well, we'll see what happens. That probably means the carb isn't working, or something in the fuel system isn't working. Right, and you heard that. So it started up on that brake cleaner I just gave it. But obviously fuel is not getting from the tank into the carb. So that's what we're going to do next. Right guys, so I've popped the back cover off there. And here we have access to our air filtering carb. So there's obviously something wrong with getting from the fuel tank, which is right here, over to here and then into the engine. So I was hunting around. You got to have quite a wide spanner to get in that bolt. You can see some people have rounded them off. So I did loosen this off before just to make sure I had the right spanner. Sorry, screwdriver, not spanner. So there is your air filter. Give that a clean off. And you can see there's the intake. And if I move the choke, you can see that's the flap for the choke. So there you go, you just have to wiggle that off. So you can see there, that isn't great, but we'll clean that off as well. Try and keep all the parts organised, because they are easy to lose. Gonna keep clearing up because I don't want any of this gunk going inside the carb and making my life of cleaning it more tricky. So now we've actually got back to this carb, you can see there's two nuts. There's those two nuts there, and we have all these linkages. Now these linkages have small clips on them which can fly across the room, so I'm going to get a container so I can make sure I can put them all in there, and a pair of pliers might do the job. No. So I actually took that one off with my hands. So I got to remember that that one looks like that clip. That goes with the throttle, and hopefully should just hook off like that. So that's off. Now this one seems to have some kind of spring system. So that almost just had a little wire running around it. I don't know whether that's how it's meant to be or whether that's just a bodge from someone else. I imagine there should be a clip on there, but maybe not. Let me know down in the comments. So now we're free. All of the linkages are off, and we just need to take those bolts down. Right, so they're off now. So we're not quite free because we have a few fuel lines that we have to try and take off, which can always be fiddly, especially when they're old. Okay, so I'm at a point where you can see it's starting to be free. I've got a fuel line down here that I'm going to try and take off. Just try and work it off. If you're lucky, it should do that. And there we have it. So we have our carb. You can see there's the other flap, that's your throttle. I'm We're going to clean that up and put new seals in it and everything. As you can see, this fuel line only has one fuel line going to the carb, which is interesting. So I'm going to clean all this stuff out, and then I'll give you a closer look on the carb, and we'll do what we have to do to that. Right, so here I have the carburetor. First thing to do is just spray it down. You want to get rid of any gunk on the outside, because all of that could end up on the inside and make cleaning it harder. Sorry about that. So just get rid of the worst of it. And we're going to want to start taking it apart. So this is the inlet side, this is where the fuel comes in. So we're going to need a small flathead. So you can see on this inlet side, this is our gasket. So it essentially seals the two pieces of metal. And then here we have our other rubber part, and this is a diaphragm here. So you can see that moves up and down and acts like a fuel pump. Then we have these two flaps here, and they act as one-way valves. So they will open, and then when it gets filled up, then when fluid tries to go back the other way, then they will actually close. So if I get a small screwdriver, should be able to see that below those, you can see there's that hole there. Should be the same there. And they act as one-way valves. So what we're going to do, these can be fairly stuck on. This one doesn't seem too bad. So just gently remove it. Now I'm replacing all of these, so it's not as needed, but I'm going to place that down there. And I have the carb refurbishment, so take that out. And what I do is match up the old bits with the new bits in your diaphragm. So hopefully you can see here, that's my old one, and if I turn this around the other way, can you see that they're the same? So I know that this bit's going to go back on that bit. So rather than taking the whole thing apart and then replacing them, because it's easy to forget, I just take apart these small parts, match up the new parts with the old parts, and then put it all back together. So now that we've done that, we can take off this other side, which is a thicker gasket, because this actually compresses in between the two bits of metal and makes it seal. You can see that it just stuck on there a bit. And if it starts sticking in one place, you can move on to another part, but that is starting to rip, so I'm going to get something sharp. And lift up with that. And ideally you don't want to be left with any of this residue. So you can see there it's come off pretty cleanly. So this went on like that. So now I know that I need to match up a piece with that. And I can see there I've got the same match. So I'm going to put this part back on. And you shouldn't be able to get it wrong because they have these two little locating holes. So that's on there. And then I'll do the other side after I've cleaned this out. So now that we've taken it apart and made sure we have the right parts, then we want to clean it out. So all these little holes, sorry if that hit the camera, I just want to, you can see there, I think there's a clog in that hole. Right, so I think in this part is the screen, and that's the screen that goes down and feeds the next area. And I'm just, I don't know if you can see that, but bringing out huge wads of sediment, and that's just built up over the years. Maybe some sawdust has got in the fuel or something that hasn't been filtered out, and over time it'll build up. So I'm pretty sure that in here there should be a screen. Now I have one screen in the kit. I'm just going to keep cleaning it out. Now there definitely is a screen in there. I can't quite remember if there's also a screen on the other side, so I think what I'm going to do is just turn it over, crack open the other side, just check that the screen doesn't go on this side as well, and then, sorry, I'll get it in view. So this is the other side, and this is what has the jet and the needle valve. So that inlet side actually pumps the fuel up into that area, and then it will come through into here, and then after it's gone through this side, it will go into the carb and into the engine. Right, so just see how it's stuck. Not too bad. There you go. So that's that open, and you can see here, this is the diaphragm. It doesn't feel too bad. It feels quite soft actually. So there's another gasket behind there. Here there's a diaphragm, and then here's the needle valve. But I can't see a screen coming up on this side. That's not. I think that is the hole that goes down into the carb jets. So I'm happy that's where my screen's going to go. So the way you take it out is you've got to try and latch it on the side, so you won't be able to see it, but it is in there once I get it out, and there you go. So that's your screen, and if that gets clogged up, then it's not going to allow enough fuel through. So I'm going to put that down there. Yes, I do. So you can see I push that screen down in there. That's a new screen, and I'll just flush that out once more. And I think that's probably where the blockage would have been. Okay, so it's time to put this side back together. So we had this diaphragm. So we know this flat part should go over that. So that's the way it should go. And we can check again that the underneath these should be holes, which there are. So that's the right way. We've got a screen on there. So this side should be done when we flip this thing the right way on. So we locate it that way. You want to get them up fairly tight, otherwise you'll have leaks. So with this one, I should be able to separate out. Yeah, so you can see that there was a gasket on the bottom. So the gasket fit. We got to remember that the gasket faces what goes on first, and then we have the diaphragm there. And what that diaphragm does is actually press on this point here, can go up and down, and that presses down on that needle valve there, and that lets fuel in and out when it's needed, just working off the vacuum pressure. So as we're here, we might as well change the jet. There probably isn't anything wrong with it. Or sorry, the needle valve. There probably isn't anything wrong with it, but I'm going to do it anyway. So you want to take this, you want to hold this down first. So this is all held together with a spring, and then this bolt. So take this screw out. And this part is just going to unclip off that needle valve, and then you've got that spring there. Take that off, and then if I tap that, then there's the jet just there. So as I have all these things, we might as well change them. I'll give it another spray. So that was our old stuff. New one goes in. Just want to make sure that it's all the same. So this little axle is going to stay. Put that on through there. We want the spring. Where did that spring go? God, I do hate springs. Right, so found the spring, put it in that middle bit. Grab your axle with the little hook on the end, and that's going to go underneath your needle valve. You might not be able to see this because it's quite fiddly, so I'm just going to try and do it myself without everything pinging off. Then once you've got it held in place, then you want to get the screw. Okay, and then what you should see once you've done that is that when you press down on this, your needle valve just here lifts up. You don't need to get this too tight, but just get it snug. So that bit's all now done. We've got that. Now we want to replace the diaphragm. So here we have our new one. There's our new one. And the gasket. So remember we said that the gasket goes on first. You can only only get the gasket one way round. Again, check all the holes line up. You've got an even overlap on each side, so I don't think we've forgotten anything. We've replaced the inlet side diaphragm gasket. We've replaced the needle valve and the lever and the gasket on this side and the diaphragm on this side. So we can go ahead and tighten it all up. Okay, done with that. And then get my air filter. Now I don't even think you can buy air filters for these models, so compressed air would be good. I don't have any, so I'm just going to brush it off, get the worst off, and we'll see. We'll go from there. It's amazing what they are now, or what they were back then, are just these screen filters. Now we have all these foam ones. It seems strange. I don't know whether originally this may have had a foam insert in. So let me know down in the comments if this is actually missing something. Right, so I think we're ready to put it all back together. Alright, so we're ready to put it back on. Sorry about the wind. So we obviously want to get these out of the way, and we want to put it on the right way. So the choke switch here comes on comes on furthest towards the handle, so that should go on. Put these out of the way, and then we need to get this fuel line down at the bottom, just there, in. I'll make sure that goes in. So one thing you can do is spray it with a bit of brake cleaner, in the hope of trying to soften the pipe a little bit, because it's probably getting quite old. You can see how it's gone on there now. Going to be checking for leaks on that, of course, which could well happen. So I've attached those two linkages back up. I want to put these nuts back on. I don't have any torque specs on those nuts, but they do want to be quite tight, because this whole thing can shake free. not seal on properly, so that's what you want to do. So now we've got those on, we want to clip those clips back on. See that one works, and that one works, so that's perfect. I don't think we're missing anything. Now I want to get this back part on. Yeah, so that definitely goes further back than you think. You got to push that right on the nuts. And then our final bit is this back cover. Slots on, and then now this was done up really tight when I got it off, so I'm not going to do it up as tight. Doesn't really make much difference. Right, so I think that's everything. We're going to give it a go. There you have it. So you can see that I just encouraged it with a bit of that brake cleaner. But it wasn't cutting out, it was running fine. Not as smoky now, which is good. So I'm probably going to give that a little tune up, and then that'll be ready. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you found it useful, and yeah, see you in the next one.